For the second common rafter layout exercise, we'll be demonstrating how to lay out a common rafter with a standard framing square. We'll also be changing the pitch to an 8/12 pitch. We have different theoretical and overall lengths. Our ridge thickness will be different as well. We'll use a 4x ridge in this case, and we'll show you how we offset for the thicker ridge. And we'll also change the seat cut in the bird's mouth so that we have a 2.5 inch height above plate. If you've ever used a framing square to lay out a stair stringer, laying a rafter out is a very similar process. We use the same concept of rise and run, except in the case of common rafters, our rise is our pitch, or 8 inches, and our run for a common rafter is always 12. The combination of our rise and run, in this case 12 inches on the run and 8 inches on the rise, will give us a proper angle for our seat cuts and our plumb cuts. The plumb cuts being cut on the 8-inch line and the seat cuts on the 12. With the square set at the very front corner, we draw a plumb line to represent the center of our ridge, similar to how we did with the speed square. We now need to offset for half our ridge thickness. Since our ridge is a 4x lumber, our actual thickness of a 4x is 3.5 inches. That is the total thickness of our ridge, but we need to divide that by 2 so that we can mark the face of our ridge. 3.5 divided by 2 is 1.75 inches. So now I'm going to offset my ridge plumb line by 1.75 inches, which is half the thickness of my ridge. I'll start at the 10 mark on my tape measure and measure over 1.75 inches. I'll now take my framing square and set it for my pitch, in this case again 8/12 pitch, and slide it up to my mark, which is my 1.75 inch offset mark, making sure that the bottom legs of my framing square are flush to the top edge of the rafter at 8 inches on the rise and 12 on the run, and mark my plumb line, which will now represent the face of my ridge. The remaining layout for the overall and theoretical lengths is the same process from the first demonstration. Hook your tape on the end of the board and mark on the top edge of the rafter for the theoretical and overall lengths. For the second example, our theoretical length is 36.25 and our overall length is 48 11/16. Now that I have my theoretical and overall lengths marked on the top edge of my board, I'll set up my framing square to my 8/12 pitch, just like I did with my ridge. And I will repeat the process for the overall length tail cut. I now have 2 plumb lines, one at my overall length and one at my theoretical length. My overall length will be my tail cut, and I'll mark that on my board. And now we are ready to mark for our seat cut and bird's mouth at our theoretical length. Since this rafter layout calls for a 2.5 inch height above plate, we'll use our framing square and line the back edge up again with our plumb line of our theoretical mark, but in this case we'll set the height exactly at 2.5 inches to where it meets the top edge of the rafter. By laying out the bird's mouth in this method, we ensure that the height of the rafter above the plate will be exactly 2.5 inches. And here we have our 2.5 inch height above plate marked on our rafter. Note that we don't necessarily care what the seat cut length is in this case, since the design calls for a specific height above plate. And here is our completely labeled bird's mouth. Note this bird's mouth is quite a bit different shape than the one we did in example 1. I'd like to point out the fact that it doesn't matter if you use a framing square or a speed square to lay out your plumb lines. Using a framing square or a speed square will result in the same angle. As you can see here, our speed square shows a common rafter angle of 8-inch pitch, which is what our design called for.